What's up, everyone? You're tuning in to Hmong Hip Hop Heritage episode 3. Again, thank you so much for being here. I'm Impact from Underground Flow, the Kinges. We have a Sae Saeborg, all the way in Las Vegas, one of the dancers for the Jabberwockies. We have VillN Lor, also representing Underground Flow, the Kinges. We have Gary, who's going to come in a little bit later, but again, he's from Fresno, California, representing the Wizards, people Integra. Again, if you guys are tuning in, you tune in to Hmong Hip Hop Heritage. Again, today it's episode 3. We're talking about bridging the gap. And I feel like bridging the gap, that's pretty much filling in the in between many cultures or even lifestyle to experience and the gaps that we experience in life, right? Generational gap, right? To even we can keep going on that concept, but the point is that the big thing is bridging the gap. So at the end of the day, we're going to talk about that, and we'll talk about that based off Hmong hip hop experience in America. And again, we want to let you guys know, again, we acknowledge and we realize that we are only a small representation of what the greatness of Hmong hip hop dancer and hip hoppers out there in general. We have many amazing artists out there. We can name a few of them over and over again, but at the end of the day, like, we got Tsniu, we have all to the Pay Jane to even like Munch. We got Munch on the show. He's gonna come back on soon. Heads up, he's gonna be a little late. We got Era, one of the greatest Hmong power head. We talk about power head, meaning power dance mover in terms of a b-boy breaker. I just name a few. We have Ada Shang, who's also just not a talented dancer, but also an actor as well. That's pursuing that life. So, we have a lot of great Hmong artists out there in general. So, like I said, we're just talking about our experience to hopefully, again, if you're tuning in, you tune into the episode 1 to episode 2, you tune in to the first one, which is about origin story. You get to learn a little bit about us. Episode 2, I'm sorry, that was episode 1. I forgot what I was saying. Episode 1 was origin story. Episode 2 is a hip hop experience. You get to dive in a little bit deeper what we have experienced within our hip hop experience. You get to learn a little bit about our lows, and our highs, and our struggles to our success. And I want to point out that last time we hit on something that was pretty important too, is that like sometime when you are in your deepest, darkest moments in your life, is usually where you'll find your highest moments in your life as well. So reminder to all those seekers and people who want to pursue the artist lifestyle, to pursue whatever you want to do in life. Remember that don't be afraid of those dark moments, because those are going to be the moments that you're going to discover the most about yourself as an individual, as artist, as a person that's going to accomplish something great in your life. So as a reminder, so again, today is episode 3. Welcome to Hmong Hip Hop Heritage, episode 3, Bridging the Gap. Again, brought to you by Sae Cha, Gary Yang, Longkue VillN Lor, me as well, and Munch. Ryan Lee's gonna be a little bit late, but he will be on. And today our topic is about bridging the gap. This is more about the community. It's more about you guys. It's more about us. It's more about unity. Is more about how do we create something bigger than dance. And dance is only something that brings us together, but what really truly honestly carry us further in our experience in general is community. And that's what we're going to talk about, is what do we do in our life to get to the point where we're able to play a part within our community. What's up, Munch? We got Ryan Munch representing Festival Flay all the way from Sacramento, tuning in right now. Again, we're talking about episode 3, Bridging the Gap. So yes, community. I feel like community rings a big bill in terms of my experience of what bridging the gap mean in hip hop? That's a term that we use in hip hop in general, like each one teach one, right? That's like an educational term where we use to kind of like just it's a code, straight up. It's a hip hop code. You know what I mean? It's like if you live by hip hop, you live by that too. You know what I mean? What you learn, you share. You know what I mean? And that's something that we spread, and that's something like what inspiration is in our life as artists and as individuals, is that we try our best to share and exchange and continue to do what we do today. And like that's what we're here today. Ultimately, again, we're here to educate, do our best to unify all of us together at the same time under one platform, one umbrella, and at the same time, honestly, we're trying to progress in life. So we're not trying to make we're trying to at least trying to give some source of good education, good source of inspiration to get you to progress in your own individual life, and not that for you to go out there and live a hip hop experience that, if anything, you will skip the hardship that we had to go through. If anything, I think that's something I would love to say, is that so you could at least skip that hardship that we had to go through, so you don't have to experience. But honestly, sometimes that's is still one of the best things for you to experience yourself too. So I'm not going to talk too much about it. All right, let's go on to this the conversation today. Again, we got Munch from Sacramento. We got Sae all the way from Las Vegas right now, you know, in the VillN in Anaheim, California. I myself is from Long Beach, California right now. We got Gary. He will jump in sooner or later from Fresno, California. Again, you're tuning in to Hmong Hip Hop Heritage Experience. You know what I mean? We're talking about Bridging the Gap today, episode 3. So let's go, fellas. How y'all doing today?
Good.
What's up, you guys? How you guys doing?
Good.
Good to see y'all.
Again. So, first question. Really, we're just gonna go straight into it today, because I know a lot of, like I said, the more we go into this episode, it's gonna get a little bit more deeper, and like we're gonna share more personal experience. We're gonna be more sensitive with you guys, a little bit more vulnerable. So tune in. Just kind of go with us, flow with us. Let's discuss, right? Let's discuss this. Let's talk about it. Pretty much, you know, share and let's talk about it. So the first question that we want to address is this question here. It's pretty much, how has the hip hop culture contributed to the Hmong culture? It's a 2-part question, all right? And the opposite is, how has the Hmong culture contributed to the hip hop culture? Usually I will talk first, but you know, I would love to switch it up just to kind of entertain the switch up. So does anybody want to talk about this? No, I'll go on it, but
yeah, I don't mind speaking on it first. You know, it's definitely been an interesting topic with how, you know, as for me and my personal experience with it, you know, it's definitely affected me a lot. Hip hop culture and Hmong culture both have definitely shaped the way I am and the person I am today.
Yeah.
And we can see how hip hop culture has influenced, you know, Hmong clothing, the way we wear our clothes, you know, and then even the way we talk. You know, there's a lot of Hmong slang in our own culture itself, and I speak Hmong, but at the same time, it's only to an extent, you know. And I wouldn't say I'm very fluent in it, but I still hear the slang when I hear it. And, you know, I still, to this day, struggle with understanding very difficult Hmong words. And I think comprehending those slang words is definitely was like an influence of how hip hop culture has used slang and how they communicate with each other. And even gang life, you know, you look at gang life and how their Hmong gangsters are influenced off of people like NWA, you know, or other gangster rap, you know, and then on top of that, we have Hmong rappers as well. Like that is a huge mixture of Hmong and hip hop culture. So that's just my take on it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you look at the rap music to even like how music influenced like movement in general. Um, it's too is it plays both hand, right? I mean, you could go Hmong pop music, but like since we're not hip hop or musician that way, I wouldn't talk too much about it. But like at least my take it is like I know among our Hmong folks, I mean, there's great. I'm gonna speak on the Hmong women straight up. You know, I mean, there's great Hmong women out there that are throwing incredible events that I experienced in my life that I got a chance to be a part of. Right, I'm only naming a few, but like I'm gonna name Chong Moore from Minnesota. She threw a Hmong Music Fest. Bill and I got a chance to go out there and perform in Minnesota last year. It was part of one of the greatest event I went to that was run by a Hmong female, and not just that, a Hmong organization, and not just that, it was really professional. It was like super to the point where I was like, wow, I have never experienced this from other race, but it's from my race, right? So that was one of them, right? I'm gonna name another one, Renee Ya, you know, who's through Celebrate Hmong from Fresno, California, you know, who contributed a huge part of it to what you will see like the braid competition in Fresno. I know Gary will talk more about it later on, but that's one. And she even provided a workshop where it's all Hmong cast. You know, you have Hmong women and Hmong men teaching together, and not just that, you have Hmong women and men running events together. So I want to remind you guys that like there's people out there that are doing great stuff. We got cool France from Sacramento, you know, John from John Gooder LLC, like throwing events and sponsoring event around Sacramento for the Hmong community. You know, she was the one that helped sponsor Underground Flow anniversaries that brought many annual events during that time for my experience. Shayna Vu, again, we only named these people because like they were there, right? But like my experience, like I think what I'm trying to say is that like they're not just the fact that there's great talented Hmong people that are contributing, Hmong men that are contributing to the hip hop culture. That's great, amazing Hmong women out there too, and then like that, just to kind of give them a shout out, in the same time giving them credit in the way where like, you know, we acknowledge people like that. And I know that was one of the questions that people have mentioned, of like how can we talk more about Hmong women, and like that's something that I'll give credit to. And there's many other ways for us to even talk about that, but because we're not Hmong women, we were not trying to be your voice, but at the same time, like we're gonna give credit and understand that they are the people who provide many platforms out there that have contributed to the hip hop culture straight up. And that's something huge in terms of like Hmong community contributed to the hip hop culture. And at the same time, how does the hip hop culture contribute to Hmong culture? From my experience, it's huge. Like I say, it's a huge reason why gang violence has decreased to the point where it is now. One, the reason, right? Compared to people out there shooting each other, people out there now, what they're doing is battling each other positively, laughing now, compared to yelling at each other. You know what I mean? They're enjoying each other through one source, which is music, entertainment, movement, therapy, right? You know, we talked about that a little bit on the other episode, but we talked about movement therapy, how it helped Munch through some hard times, right? And like straight up, I feel like we might not know it, but it's helping us deeper than what we think it is. And we could go deeper now, but I'll say that for later too. But like, yeah, I mean, I can keep going, but man, how about you, Munch? What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, man. There's a lot of. Am I echoing? I can hear myself.
Now you good. We hear you.
Check. You guys hear me?
We got Gary tuning in from Fresno right now. What's up, Gary?
Yeah, you're good, Ryan.
Check. Yep. Okay. Cool. Yeah. What's up, Gary? Yeah, man. And touching up on that Hmong subject, man. On the Hmong women subject, Impact touched that very clearly and very precisely. You know, we didn't want to speak up for the Hmong ladies because, you know, we're not Hmong women. But there's a couple girls that I would love to shout out. You know, for a fact, my sister Paige Yang. You know, big shout out to Paige Paye. You know, she's doing it big too. You know, I actually met up with her on Sunday recently. We did a video shoot, you know, so I would like to give her a huge shout out. She organized this big thing where she's shooting with everybody from the scene. She's actually living in Atlanta, Georgia right now, but she's also from SAC, you know. So big shout out to Paige. Paige is doing many great things. If you guys don't know who Paige is, please check her out. And also, there's another woman dancer that I would like to acknowledge too. You know, I don't really think she breaks anymore, but she actually does hula hooping, you know, and like that on a high level too is Her from North Sac. You know what I'm saying? So big shout out to those two ladies from my city and my scene that's really doing a lot. You know, actually opened a facility up in North Sac to teach kids how to break and all that stuff and dance. And she even hosted a little event that I was able to judge because she invited me out to do that. You know, so there's a lot of talented women out there, you know. And please, if you guys and ladies know any women Hmong dancers out there, please put it in the comments. We would love to know who they are. You know what I'm saying? I would love to know more about Hmong sisters that are in the scene that's making an impact and everything too. You know, and you know, the hip hop culture, it's contributed, you know, in my opinion, in my belief, you know, it has contributed so much to the Hmong culture, in my opinion, from my standpoint. You know, I wouldn't be where I am without it today. It's helped me through a lot of struggles and a lot of violence in my life and a lot of ups and downs in my life, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times, like I said in the last one, you know, it was like, it was my backbone. It was kind of like my safe zone, if I were to say, you know. And I think that's something that we do need to realize, that with hip hop culture and that contributed so much to the Hmong culture, you know, like what the Hmong culture contributing to hip hop is, you know, just our, you know, our style of dress, like Sae mentioned also, you know, is very influenced by hip hop culture. And that's something that hip hop culture has really contributed to us. And I'm super thankful for that, you know, and I'm glad we have that, you know. Yeah. But I mean,
Agreed.
yeah. And so, I mean, what do you think about all that, Gary?
Yeah. I know Gary just jumped in. But I
Yeah.
also want to remind our audience that if you get tuning in right now, feel free to put questions in their comments.
Yes.
We'll do our best to answer a few of them toward the end of our conversation. Again, if we don't answer it, it's only probably because we're going to address it sooner or later in another episode. And we're going to do our best to address all those questions. So feel free to put question up there. Yeah. Again, Gary, you just tuning in. We're just talking about how does hip hop culture contribute to Hmong culture, right? And how does Hmong culture contribute to hip hop culture? And knowing you, you throw pretty much, it's been an annual year event in Fresno. So maybe like, I don't know, like you could share your thoughts on this question then. Yeah.
All right, guys. So to give you a little bit of background, so last year I was the chairman or the director of the performing arts competitions for the Hmong Cultural New Year celebration here in Fresno, California. And what that consisted of was overseeing anything that was performing arts that competed for money. So that was like beauty pageant, traditional Hmong dance, singing competition, the B-boy B-girl competition, and the dance choreography competition. So those were the 5 that I was overseeing last year. And the year before that, I was the main organizer for just the B-boy. And with that being said, what I learned is that, you know, it was like a learn as you go kind of basis. And you know, I'm very thankful to HCNYC for giving me the opportunity to organize it for them, because they are a very supportive organization out here in Fresno. And if not for them giving me the support and the necessary tools that I needed, I don't think that I could have ever, you know, through next level at this kind of level of competition, or even even just having them like support and try out these new ideas in our Hmong culture. You know, that showed me a lot, because here they are, you know, doing what I love to do, which is working with the kids and supporting everyone and anything that comes my way. and HCNYC just welcomed it with open arms, and and I was able to organize the jams and the competitions at a very reasonable price, and I was able to diversify it as much as I could by incorporating other people and having others come from all over just to be a part of it. So that's what I gotta say, and I totally agree with you, Munch, that like with the Hmong hip hop culture, um, taking so much and learning and becoming these Hmong Americans that we are, it's like hip hop really shaped us into who we are today. It has so much influence on us growing up, because for me, it was something that I chose to be involved in, with hip hop, and it was just something that I still find myself in love with, you know. So and also big shouts out to some of the hip hop women in Fresno, such as you got Serena Ramorian and and also Mater Lore. So those two, I think, to me mean a lot to me, because they both impacted me and my lifestyle and the things that I do today. So did you guys have any questions?
I agree on that. I mean, these women that you mentioned are doing great thing among the hip hop community in general. They're using their platform, their skills, their what they're doing right now, just to kind of reach out and kind of again, live by the code, each one teach one in hip hop, to bring unity and same time self expression to new generation. So straight up, I only will back you up on that straight up, because I met these women before and I worked with them too. So like Mater Lore to Serena, and you gotta know Serena. She has one of the greatest Fresno dance school, pretty much, right? Dance community, studio in general in Fresno. So yeah, Vil, do you have anything about this question you want to talk about it? Share.
Yeah, you guys hear me?
Hear you.
You guys hear me? So, for me, I feel like, I'll just talk based off my personal experience with how hip hop culture contributed to the Hmong culture. For me, it literally is just linking me to all the Hmong people. I feel like if it wasn't for hip hop, we wouldn't be here right now doing this live stream. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like, as simple as it is, it is like a even though it's so, the beautiful thing about hip hop is that it's very universal. It's so diverse, and I think that's the beauty of it, is that we get to learn about so many culture in that community, right? With hip hop, that not only do I get to learn about other cultures, it roots me back to my culture. So on this journey of hip hop, I get to meet all these other Hmong people that I feel like I probably would have never met if it wasn't for hip hop. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's a very strong connection, and why hip hop in my eyes, hip hop has contributed so much to the Hmong community. It's also because of that, right? Because it's one of those culture, slash community that almost, it's like, again, as long as you're about it and you live that lifestyle, you'll meet people, all types of people, and we all know that in that culture, there's like in different locations, of course, there's a huge Hmong, population, but even when we talk about dancing, right, especially breaking, I feel like I've traveled all around like the States, meeting all these different Hmong people that I would have never met if I wasn't dancing, if hip hop wasn't there for me in that way, you know what I mean? And I think for me, not only do we get to learn about other culture, it also for me has rooted me back into my culture in that kind of way, and I met a lot of really dope Hmong people on my journey as well, and again, there's a story that I'll share real fast, like I went my first time when I went to France, it was scary, but then it's also, it was also one of those memorable moments in my life, because my first time traveling overseas I was what, 18, and that's like international battle. And during that time, it's like for any b-boys at that time, I feel like it was, you know, I never even knew how people got to start traveling, you know, other than of course if they do people. Long story short, you know, there was just this doubt, and he saw me, and then he saw me at the jam, and then he got my contact and wanted to fly me out to represent U.S. Right, so I got put in with a team from Southern California, right, with a bunch of b-boys, like I think 5 b-boys from Southern California to go represent U.S. And I went out to France, and you know, I didn't know, but there was also a few Hmong people that was breaking out there, you know, and I met this guy named B, right? Big shout out to B, because I didn't know he was Hmong at that time, right? And then he didn't know I was Hmong, you know, so we had that conversation. We had like a block in our, and even our dialogue going there, because like, I think at first when I realized that he was Hmong, right? So he's a French b-boy, right? I feel like for me, one of the pioneers in France, you know what I mean, for Hmong b-boys. So and also one of the first Hmong b-boys to ever do Rebel BC1. So when I realized it was Hmong, I went to talk to him. He couldn't speak English, I couldn't speak French, and then we both just looked at each other, and then I was like, but they say that he's Hmong, and I was like, I'm just gonna go for it. And I asked him, I was like, it just came to that question, you know? And then he was like, oh, yeah, and then from there, because I can speak Hmong too, just so for those who are tuning in, I can speak Hmong. Again, I'm not like really fluent in Hmong, but I could carry a decent conversation. So yeah, it came down to that. And then he was like, yeah, and then after that, what I realized that even though it was so beautiful, because like when we both realized that we could understand each other, but that was through our native language, you know what I mean? Like it almost for me was one of those experiences where I was like, yo, whoa, this I've never experienced this before, you know, to not be able to communicate, but be able to communicate because we were able to still speak our own native language. And I think, you know, for me, that's a story that I'll always remember, at least like my early times of traveling and stuff like that, and why I would also share to everyone that it is also, hip hop has also sort of allowed all of us to really, you know, it has linked, if anything, our people in a way where not only did they also save a lot of people's lives, you know, from the transition of, you know, being gangsters, you know, but it also has also linked us even closer, if anything, you know what I mean? And but yeah, that's definitely one story I would love to share, and that's all. If y'all have any questions, feel free to ask.
That's dope, man. That's dope.
That's tight. Like like I guess I have a question. Like what's something that you found that you have in similar to B? I mean, you know, we didn't even know B name was B until we thought it was Bi at first, because he spelled B-Y, you know?
Yeah,
like the French way is spelled B, you know?
Yeah, that's why I didn't know he was Hmong. Yeah, that's how I didn't know he was Hmong.
100%. That's why I did. I feel you. Like I didn't know he was Hmong too, because but I keep hearing B, and like I never heard no one named B, because in English we would spell B what B-E-E, right? Or not B-Y, right? I mean, you know, English language.
Yeah.
I mean, I already talked to you guys about it, but but anyways, like I said, like what are something that you found that you two have in common within like the Hmong culture, but at the same time within the hip hop culture? Just because, like you know, like you said, he's like a pioneer in the France community, and I'll be real, I think you're a pioneer within the United States community as well. You know, in terms of like hip hop culture in general, Hmong hip hop culture. You know, so
like you mean like
what do you have? What did it's a vague question. You can go anywhere you want, but like I guess I'm trying to pull out is like what do you see in him that you see in you that it's Hmong and hip hop at the same time?
Oh, yeah, like, yeah. I mean,
you talk about language. You talk about language, and we know that hip hop is also breaking and music and art and language in general and fashion. We go forever about the elements, but like if anything, what's something that I know if you could share that your experience, that moment, that time that is like, if anything, could help add to why both culture contribute to both culture, if in general, right? Does that make sense? That's what I'm asking.
Well, like if you guys don't know, like for me, I mean, to be honest, like I only know B through our conversation that we had, and also from other people. And I feel like he was a sorry if you guys are hearing that honky thing, that alarm. But anyways, yeah, he was actually not only a big influence for Hmong people out there, but also for just like the French b-boys in general. So I feel like in the end, it wasn't just that hip hop was contributing to, I mean, yeah, to the Hmong community in France, which I'm sure it was, but he was also contributing as well, and he had a lot of people that weren't Hmong people that was looking up to him. You know what I mean? That he was even taking under his wings, and I'm sure was teaching. You know what I mean? I remember he was telling me, like the people he taught, and they were just French, and of course French, and but like when I say French, I'm talking about like from like even like the black French b-boys. You get what I'm saying? So for me, it's like it not only was he, like hip hop has influenced and contributed into his life as a b-boy, but he was also giving it back, and he and also even to his crew. So yeah, like that's the one thing I would say too, and I think to even kind of the another thing too was that like I didn't hear from him, but other people was telling me too that he was like a badass like dude, like he was like a badass gangster too, like, but of course he just he went on a different route as well, so I think there's also that correlation, energy, right? I feel like I feel like there's also that correlation.
Positive, yep.
Exactly. So but yeah, I feel like he was also a community leader in his in his community, at that time. And he was also one of those guys. So, it was a really cool experience to meet someone like that,
Right.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, man, because actually there's a point where one of my friends
yeah, we hear you.
Can you guys still hear me? Okay, cool. Sorry, my mic is a little bit messed up. But yeah, man, there was a point where I actually trained with one of his students. It was pretty random. His name was Tsniu Cha. He was from France also. You know what I'm saying? But it's pretty dope, because when you bring B up, it's pretty random for me, because I remember this was like a couple of years back, man. Like one of my friends, he's a hip hop dancer. He just hit me up. He's like, "Hey, bro, like my cousins are here from France, and one of my cousins, he says he breaks. So like, I asked him if he wanted a session. So I decided to call you because I know everybody's session is at your house." I'm like, "Yeah, bro, just bring him through. Come on through, man." And I remember he came through, him and two other guys, and like I forgot the names, and they had some French names. I can't even pronounce it. But I remember they came through, and I was talking English to them, and they just kind of looked at me like, English no good. It's like, so I was like, oh shit. So I kind of same thing that VillN was talking about when he talked to B. I was like, hey, and they were like, yeah, so we started talking to Hmong. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I was like, hey, so who do you guys train with? And he actually, he said, he's like, yeah, do you know who B-Boy B is? I was just like, yeah, I've heard of him. He's like the Hmong B-Boy from SAC. I think like I seen like a couple old school clips of him, because Ricky Era actually showed me clips of that guy, and he's like, they're like, yeah, we trained with them, and then we also trained with a Pokemon crew. And I was like, oh shit, for real? And he's just like, yeah, we trained with them for a while. I was like, so did you train with like Lilu and all those guys? He's like, nah, Lilu and Brahim travel a lot, but we train with the other members of Pokemon crew. Because the city we're from, it's pretty close,
Yeah.
So
I mean, Europe, man, all the cities is pretty much the states.
Yeah. So
you in France, you're pretty much in Idaho, or I don't know. I want to compare like the small states, but I'm just saying like,
No, they're all like an hour apart.
Yeah.
So it's super close. You can drive everywhere in Europe, man.
Yeah, that's tight.
But yeah,
dude,
man,
that's tight that you have that experience then, That's
it was, and I'm glad that VillN brought that up, because like, that's actually, one thing that I can really say that the hip hop culture has contributed to the Hmong community, because it's like I would have never met none of these guys, and it's pretty random that some French b-boys would just come to my house and happen to be one of my friend's cousins. Is like, yeah, they're here and they break, and they wanted to break, and I only know you that break to have a garage, so can they come through? I'm like, yeah, dude, come through. And I'm just like, man, these guys are kind of good too. You know, they're like, oh, what crew are you in? I was like, oh, I'm in Flexible Flav. They're like, oh, you're in Flexible Flav. I was like, yeah. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, we know that crew. And they're like, where is that guy that does Flow? I'm like, this Flow. I was like, oh, you talking about Future? And they're like, yeah, I really like him. Like they battled Pokemon Crew before. I was just like, yeah. I was like, damn, yeah, they did actually. You know, I was like, oh, and then and then it's crazy how hip hop can unite us from France. That's like these guys, like, you know, even with you guys, you know, and that's why I'm glad VillN pointed that out. A lot of people that I've met, a lot of great people in my life, a lot of very good friends that I've met in my life, you know, that are still very good friends. You know, I had a chance to move to Europe and live there because I met one of my crew members, you know, and he said, hey, you want to come live in Europe? You can come stay with me, you know, and experience the European scene. And because of the hip hop culture, I was allowed to do that, you know, and it's given so much to me. And that's just like, that's an experience that, like, who can really say that, you know, that, hey, yeah, I lived across the seas to do dancing because of this hip hop shit.
Sick.
You know,
I agree, man. I mean, that just shows that there's the hip hop culture and the Hmong culture influence each other in many positive ways too. And like, I mean, be real with you, I feel like he has all living proof of it. You guys all do great stuff among the Hmong community and with the other community. So I feel like let's move forward to next topic and next question. I feel like that's going to advance us to something that will bring more insights and experience to our audience at the moment. So I feel like the next question that I feel like we want to address is just something that we know in our community, not just that in our community, but in our Hmong culture and community as well, and our maybe even our family too. I mean, there's a generational gap, right? And like even among us right now, us five, there's a generation gap. You know, there's different experiences. There's some gaps that I might not experience because I experienced something before y'all did. Y'all might experience something totally different because you guys experienced something after I did, you know. And like it's a pro and cons, I feel like, in both sides, you know what I mean? So like the question is right now is straight up is like, what are some ways to help bridge the generation gap in the Hmong community? And this could be really honestly two-part question too, I guess. You could straight up say like, what are some ways to help bridge the generation gap in the hip hop community too? Because Hmong hip hop community in general, I mean, you think about it, like we are hip hop dancers and we are influencers. And if anything, what are some way that we have done? What do we do right now? Let me just put it that way. What do we do? Not done. We could talk about what we've done, but what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like maybe, I don't know, maybe we could start there. Actually, I take it back. What have we done? And let's go back to what are we doing? It's simple, right? It's a part question.
Yeah.
Keep it short the way you want. Yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, it's such a broad question too, because when we're talking about generational gap, we're talking about people who came before us and who's coming after us as well. You know what I'm saying? So, and the people who came before us are our OGs, the first generation Hmong people that immigrated here from Laos or Thailand. And you know, I think one of the best ways to bridge that gap is really just to be able to speak Hmong more fluently and be able to communicate with them in a way where they can understand what we're going through. I think one of the hardest things with connecting with the older generation is really just the lack of communication, and because you know, we're not fluent in Hmong the way they are. And then as for the newer generation, that's a little bit easier for us because, you know, we generally speak English. So that helps, and we're able to make conversation with more complex words. You know, our Hmong is limited, so it becomes difficult to really explain exactly what we're feeling and how we're feeling. So, you know, it's going to take a collective group to make something like this, to bridge that gap, because, you know, as much as we want to bridge that gap, we got to be able to communicate properly and efficiently. And if that's not happening, then we're only just going to stay where we're at, or we're going to be further apart.
That's true. I mean, I feel like even that's something like you mentioned, language, right? Language is definitely something that is a gap among not just generation, but probably just people in general, right? But at the same time, like you mentioned the Hmong language, and like, yeah, I mean, I see that with my younger generation, my family as well, niece and nephew. You know, some of them might not be able to speak the Hmong language the way my mom and their mom, grandma and grandpa will prefer. You know what I mean? The only thing they can say is like "Kuche pla," you know what I mean? Like I'm hungry, or like "Kusana konong," you know what I mean? Like, yeah, the easy stuff, you know what I mean? Like stuff that is like they just want to eat, but like but you're right about that though. I mean, that's one thing that it's key for us to find a solution to, right? And I feel like that's why I feel like I'm really happy and there's school out there right now, like Yapa Shore School in Sacramento. You know, there's a charter school in Lemon Hill. You know, my sister teaches there. That dude so great. I see my niece, my younger generation niece and nephew that are speaking Hmong. Man, they're speaking better Hmong than some of the older niece and nephew that I had. You know, I mean, I'm really proud to know that there's at least a transition there as well within our Hmong community. So I'm happy for that. At least I'm speaking my experience, you know, on that. But to speak about generation gap in terms of our people, community in general, like I will share my experience in terms of like, you know, when I get a chance to go speak at like different colleges, right? I know my brother and I, we get invited to different colleges around the states just to do motivational speaking and do performance or Q&A. And we love educating, and we always speak upon our experience. We always speak upon all the stuff that we talked about through the series, but we also try to do our best to educate our older generation in Hmong if we can, and at the same time, if not, meet them afterwards to talk more. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, it is a conversation. It's communication. You're right about that. You know, sometimes it just takes you to just speak in Hmong with them and tell them how you feel and how great it is. And sometimes you know, the Hmong language, there's not a lot of words that help describe emotion sometimes, you know. I think that's something we got, and sometimes what helps for me, I experience, is that we show visual content. Visual content helps. So meaning like showcasing your movement and dance, your success through videos, you know what I mean? And so it's not, or even in person, you know what I mean? And it's not like, and then you see how they get to see how people feel, how they get inspired from you performing for them, and they get like, even them will get inspired too, you know what I mean? So I feel like sometimes language is one way, but there's many ways, because for us as mover, you know, we communicate through movements a lot of time, you know what I mean? So it's also that skill that we have.
Yeah, I do feel sorry, yeah, in fact, I do feel that I think the Hmong language does allow us to express an emotion. I feel it's more like, yeah, growing up as a kid, we never got that kind of emotional sort of expression from our parents, you know? So I think through that, because I feel like, I mean, the Hmong language is beautiful. I think the Hmong language has the ability to express so many emotions, to the point where it makes me cry, you know? So I would say, yeah, but I hear you though on that. And I think it's more in the fact that growing up, we don't hear that kind of like emotions in the way that our parents speak to us. So then we are kind of numb, and we don't know how to kind of relay that. You know what I'm saying? Like express that too.
Yeah. I hear you.
But yeah, I just kind of want to. Yeah.
I hear you, but I'm just saying, like, you know, I'm like as easy as in gym tour. You know what I mean? Like. You know what I mean? Like people be like taking that in a wrong way, but sometimes it's just like, you know, is this really what it is? You know, so I'm just saying that like sometimes it doesn't have like the connotation that the English language have many other way of saying that you're stupid, or you're, you know what I mean? I'm just saying you're retarded, or maybe you're special, or I mean you're magnificent, but you have a problem. It's something that we could fix. So I don't know, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just saying that.
Definitely. Definitely to just touch up on that subject too. You know, like on some ways to bridge the generation gap.
Yeah, let's go.
With the Hmong community, man. I think with the younger generation, right? Because I think out of our whole group here, I'm probably the youngest one, right? One thing that I experienced, right, from personal experience, growing up was I grew up in that kind of era where, man, like everybody was bashing on being Hmong. Everybody kind of was hating on being Hmong because of all of the older politics that was brought over, And one thing that I've always expressed to everybody is that, man, we have to also understand, like with the older generation, right? They're going to be a little bit more skeptic and unwilling to participate. And, I don't blame them. They're new to America. They don't speak that language. And change is very, very difficult for especially our OGs, man, coming from a third world country into such an industrialized country, things are a lot different. So I think they're afraid to break that old habit that they have, because they don't want to lose the language, they don't want to lose our culture, so they believe that they should kind of hold it upon us to do that stuff. In my generation, a lot of people felt pressured to hold that, felt very pressured, like, oh, you don't speak Hmong, well, you're not Hmong, what's wrong with you? I've heard a lot of that. Even me myself, like, I know how to speak Hmong. I can speak Hmong a lot more fluent than a lot of my friends. Everybody just doesn't think I can speak Hmong. My parents actually I was in Hmong school when I was a kid. Not for too long, but probably for a year or two. So I can kind of write Hmong. I can speak Hmong. I can communicate. I understand it. And even growing up, I didn't really speak Hmong a lot until my grandmother's sister from Thailand came over, and I had to mentor all her kids, and it was hard because I couldn't speak Hmong that well, and they couldn't speak English. So for me to learn, I was like, you know what? I'll teach you guys English, and you guys teach me how to speak Hmong better.
Same.
So my grandmother was always like, okay, deal. I'll talk to you in Hmong, and you only talk to us in English. Like, okay, and actually, for a lot of people too, man, like I flossed it earlier, but your boy's trying to learn how to write in Hmong again, man. So I got this whole big old dictionary. Shout out to my boy Jerza for putting me on. But one thing that I do understand what Impact is saying, because even in this book, man, that's teaching me how to write Hmong, there isn't a lot of words for other things that we have in Hmong. There's not a lot of, we have words that, mean 6 different things depending on how you say it.
Yep.
And so I think that's a very difficult thing. But, it's a beautiful language. And like VillN says too, man, it's a language that makes me cry too. Because even when you hear kutia, what I'm saying? Like I used to hear my grandparents kutia all the time, man. And, when I was younger, I didn't really understand. But as I got older, what I'm saying? Like it got very difficult, to understand. But then as I listened to it, my uncles, they'd always tell me it's like music. Just listen to it. It's poetry. When we're speaking about haikutia, you hear them playing the instruments and stuff like that, and they sing, it's just poetry, and it's like how the best way I can put it is that my grandfather explained to me is it's like riddles, what I'm saying? When you're hearing them speak like that, when they're doing the kutia stuff, he's like, it's just kind of like riddles, and you have to really understand. And well, my friends, we used to say, because we're the younger generation, when the OGs would say some difficult word, I'll be like, what's that mean? And they'll be like, oh, it means this. I'm like, oh, why did you just say the easier word? Because it means the same thing as this word, but it's a little bit complicated for me because I don't know those words. What I'm saying? Those are my friends would call that ancient Hmong. But then I think it's great to learn all that stuff, So for even me myself, I didn't start dabbling into learning how to write and read Hmong really until I got into middle school. What I'm saying? But I didn't really have anybody to encourage me to do it either, because my parents were young when they came to America. My mom had me when she was 16, but she had my 2 older brothers. She had my oldest brother when she was 14. So even my mom herself, it was kind of like she only knew what she knew, And then growing up, I was very lucky to have certain people talk to me in Hmong, because I didn't really speak it either, until I got to the point where I was like, oh wait, if I speak Hmong, people is not gonna understand what I'm saying, so I can talk trash about people, But and then even being in the group I was, right, being around my brother's group, and as a youth in kind of more of the urban Hmong community as a youth, we spoke a lot of Hmong, just because we didn't want people to know what we were talking about, you know. And I think that what we have to understand with the generation gap is like, you know, we have to also understand where the old generation's coming from and where the new generation's coming from. Because I think for us, right, specifically us five, we're in that middle, you know, where we're the first generations. I'm the first generation for my family to be here. Me, my two older brothers, we're the first. Both my parents are from Laos and Thailand, you know. And some ways to help bridge the gap is, you know, we just gotta talk and explain to them like, hey, you know, like this is your culture, you know, every culture has its ups and downs, everything has its wrongs and rights, and we have to learn that, you know, it's something that you want to always know where you come from and who you are, and that creates like who you are, you know what I'm saying?
I agree. I think something you VillN said that was really powerful is that, yeah, our Hmong language is a musical language, straight up. I mean, it does have emotion, the way you speak it and the way you sing it, because our language is musical and it's powerful in that way. You know, and it's true. And like what you say, Munch, is true to that. Like it comes with education, straight up.
Yeah.
Education. So how do we bridge the gap? Educate, meaning teaching each other, sharing, giving each other steps in terms of what's happening in life, right? Meaning you just got to share. You got to share and educate, and like tell what's happening. What's happening, and what this is, what that is, and even bringing people to. We talked about this on the other channel, the other episode. Talk about bringing parents to our events, right? That's like parent to support. How do we solve that problem when parents don't support the next generation and what they love to do? And how do you do that? You just invite them to the event, like really do your best. And how you do that? You ask your older brother if they can't. If you can't force your parents, maybe ask your older siblings to help them support them, force them to come. You know, and sometimes that helps. You know what I mean? Because that helps in a Hmong family unit. You know, so like But how about you, Gary? Like
Yeah, I was actually going to chime in on that. So
the generation gap concept before we move on to the next question.
I think a good example would be like, you know, like you said, to educate. You know, every year at Next Level, I host free workshops before the battle itself. You know, and there's many reasons why I do that. You know, one is to, of course, give opportunity to those who've never took a workshop, you know, and then another is to educate our Hmong community that, hey, this is what we do, and this stuff has structure, this stuff is organized, and those, you know, and breaking is a very beautiful art, you know. And as I've progressed with that element, you know, we took that into even the dance choreography, you know, and I'm a big guy where I like, you know, working with the youth and educating them. So for me, it's like, I think the best way to bridge that gap is to be involved in your community and be that example, you know, so that way you can connect the youth and the older generation, bring them all on the same pace and be like, hey, look, this is what we're doing, guys, and this is why this is positive, this is why it's beneficial. And from what I've seen, you know, in the past 5 almost 6 years that I've been involved with the community, is I've seen this increase in b-boys and b-girls and dancers, you know, poppers, lockers, and in every genre, because now everyone knows that at the end of the year there's this big festival and they host these, you know, these hip hop competitions in them that's open to everyone. So, you know, so even for me, like, you know, like I told you guys in the past, I work with anybody that wants to come my way, you know, and I'm open to that. And that's why I think, you know, leading by example is probably the best way to bridge this gap that we have within the Hmong community of the different age groups, as well as our larger community as a whole.
I agree.
Yeah, I want to speak a little bit more on this, just because like I understand that everybody's talking about education and everything and how, you know, we just got to connect and stuff, but I also want to everybody keep in mind the fact that learning a language is a privilege, you know, and it's the resources that are available to learn Hmong. There's not a lot. It's very limited, and it's very hard to get to if you don't have the money for it. So like places like Yapeshua, that's a private school, You know, you got to pay for that. If your family is low income, you ain't got the money to pay for that. You're not getting Hmong classes. You know, Luther Burbank High School, you got to live in that zip code to go to that school to take that class. You know, I went to West Campus High School. There were no Hmong classes. You know, so and then my parents would be like, "Oh, shy Hmong news, shy Hmong TV, come on, chili paw." But it's like, nah, that's not how I learn it. You know what I mean? Like, well, at least for me, you know, I'm not gonna learn how to write Hmong like that. I'm not gonna learn how to read Hmong like that. You know, reading and writing comprehension is very important too in the Hmong language. So when it comes down to really learning Hmong to, you know, bridge this gap, there needs to be more resources for younger generation people, and it needs to be available for them within a hand's reach, you know. And if it's not available like that, then we're only gonna keep this bridge further apart, you know.
Yeah,
so I just want everybody to keep that in mind.
I agree with you on that. Like the way you were brought up. I'm not exactly sure if Yabashoy is a. I think Yabashoy is a private charter, but I'm not sure if it's a private charter public. I'm not exactly sure because my niece never go there. And like, yeah, well, I'm not exactly sure. So like, I don't know exactly. So, anyways, I agree with you that, and I also remind people out there are the resource out there like the YouTube channels. There's a lot of tutorial Hmong, you know, and that's a way to learn too. But like, I just want to put out there on that point. It just allows people learn how to dance or do what you do. You want to learn language if you're about it, you can do that.
It's only to an extent though, because even I've looked into it on YouTube and like, it's not that great. Like the tutorial,
I hear you.
I gotta say it's not that great. Like even for me, and I really try to learn it, and I really researched. I Googled everything. You know, like I was looking for resources, and the only way you can get it is by paying for it. And if you don't have the income for that, it's hard.
I agree. I feel like well, something that we probably could all agree upon that what you mentioned there, Sae, is true, that like it's experience, right? Experience is the most important thing that either what help people learn and grow in certain aspect of life is that if you get a chance to experience and continue to experience it over and over and learn and grow and mistake and grow from it, then of course you're gonna learn it, right? But if you're not able to access those experiences, it's gonna be hard. Right. And then like I mean, I feel like that's something that hip hop I'm not saying hip hop provide those experience, but that's something that I feel like we have experienced within hip hop, that we understand, that we learn and grow through hip hop same way as that. So knowing that if we have those experience through language, then of course we could grow with that as well, right? So I feel you on that. I guess let's just move forward just to kind of like continue our conversation, and I feel you on that though. So I think the resources, if there's more resources, which I feel like I'm not gonna say there's not. I feel like there's, from my understanding, I feel like there's a lot of people out there that are doing great things. It's for us to just kind of dig deep and find out, right? So let's do our best to if we can, maybe our audience, right, who's listening to this right now, just comment and give us a resource so we can share. Right, comment it in the comments so we can share next episode, or let us know, educate us too, because we're not like the educator all the time. We would love to get educated to you guys as well. So comment in the comment and let us know. We're gonna move on to the next question, just kind of continue the conversation, so we'll get to Q&A session so we can answer the question. The next question is, I want to really put some time into is what has the hip hop community done to contribute to racial inequality, right? We know our time right now, 2020 has not just 2020, but I mean, there's been many racial inequality that's been gone. And I'm not gonna lie, me myself, I mean, I've been blind in certain many aspects of life too, you know, and like I'm not gonna lie, I'll be real about it. Sometimes I might not know that it's that serious, but it is it's pretty serious. And I have a lot of Black friends, and I'm not saying that I'm not just being Black, being racial against, but I mean, I've seen myself getting racial inequality in terms of our society in general. So, you know, this is one question we just want to address and talk about. Right? It's no wrong, right question. Again, we're just discussing, giving our input in terms of how Hmong hip hop community done to contribute to racial equality. I'll be straight up. I think we're doing something right now by just doing this, right? I feel like the reason why we even want to do this because we care about our Hmong community. We care about educating our Hmong community. We care about uniting our Hmong community. We care about progressing our Hmong community in a way where if they get a chance to live and do what they love to do in life, they hopefully they will not do the wrong thing, right? They will at least do the just way of living and be the just way, if anything. So again, the question now is, what has the Hmong hip hop community done to contribute to racial content? And my question already is that I feel like personally, what we do now is something that we're taking action, and that's one way now, right? One way right now is an action way. I guess if I could ask something else is how have the Hmong community done to contribute to racial inequality? I'm not going to speak on folks that are protesting and doing something great out there right now, but if anything, myself as an artist, I'm not an activist, but I'm an artist. So how can I do what I do? And I'm Hmong. I've done many activist art out there, and I don't even call it activist art. I'm just doing art that is conscious to express emotion and question people to kind of like, oh dang, I should think about that now. You know what I mean? Because sometimes a protest or sometimes certain thing doesn't act the way certain thing happen. It doesn't affect people the way it does sometimes. So sometimes that's what art is there for. So for me as an artist, I wasn't born to be an artist, activist straight off. So I'm artist from the beginning. So like for me, I'm gonna speak off as artist. My way of attacking certain things that to attack it away from the artist viewpoint is to do my best to document certain things through my art realm, right? By being creative and sharing content that could help express certain things that things can't express. So that's something that I feel like as a Hmong artist, I try my best to do. The other way is to, again, provide resources and educate people through many platforms, right? Many platforms in terms of like podcasts is to even like Kinjaz, we did this four-part series where we just talk about how we could like do our best to kind of like educate too, you know what I mean? And like progress this movement that's is fighting for equality, you know? So yeah, I'll stop there for myself. So anybody want to chime in on this question? Feel free.
So I totally agree with you, and like even with me, I think bringing these issues out to the public and talking about it, that's the best thing that we can do, and continuing these talks in the future, with those like-minded individuals like us and those that are around us that might not agree with us, I know because even with me, I've had these personal talks with my friends and comrades, and sometimes it doesn't go the way that I would like, but I'm glad to have these talks because I know that maybe one day it's gonna stir their mind, stir their brain, and they might consider in the future, and to me, it's like I'm so glad to be here with the four of y'all because it's a very touchy subject to others, and I know that because even I had friends who felt personally attacked when I asked them. I questioned, some of their beliefs, and that's where it's like, hey, we got to have these talks. We gotta address these issues within our community because, I don't know about how y'all feel, but one day when my daughter gets older, I want her to live in peace and to not have to go through these struggles that we're going through, because we're going to solve these issues right now or soon, and that's why I'm telling you guys, like, I really appreciate this. So.
That's dope, man. That's dope. Yeah, man. One thing the Hmong hip hop community can do and has done to contribute, man. Like one thing that I do, right? Speaking from personal experience, right? I work with many programs. As Sae also knows, a program that I work with a lot in Sacramento is called the Cypher Hip Hop Workshops, right? And that's given me an opportunity and a huge platform to be able to speak and educate everybody about just the hip hop culture. I teach at a lot of schools, and a lot of times, I even get like other race kids asking me, like, telling me, because they don't know much either. They'll be like, "Oh man, I don't want to break dance, man. That's an Asian thing." And I'm just like, no, it's not. You know, and I'll break down, like, you know, come to my class, you know, because even in my classes, right, with my students, I don't just teach breaking. You know, I educate them. There's certain days of the week where we sit down and, you know, we'll have a topic, and especially with the cipher, you know, shout outs to Mike B, you know, who's given me great opportunities to be able to sit down with students and be like, okay, you know, this is why hip hop started. This is where hip hop started, and this is what hip hop did for the community, you know. And honestly, to really touch bases on it is just educating the youth and consistently talking about it. You know, consistently letting people know, like, hey, you know, this is the culture, this is where the culture comes from, and we benefit from the culture, so we need to give back to the culture and understand that there is a lot of things. The culture was created because of racial inequality. Culture was created with all this negative things happening to provide a safe space for everybody. You know, so with the programs that I work with, we speak a lot about the Black culture. We speak a lot about, you know, where it started, who started it, how it started, you know, and what we can do to contribute back. And one thing that I believe that we've done to contribute a lot, and shout out to even my brothers in Minnesota, you know, with Lou Finisher Chow, you know, they do a lot of that where they're educating the youth about the Black culture. They're educating about the hip hop culture. You know, even his whole crew, you know, they got Jacob Boogie B doing the same thing in his studio, you know. And to contribute to that, you know, I think that we also have to understand that there's a lot of anti-Blackness in the community, but we also have to understand where it comes from, why it's there, and learn how to de-escalate those situations and understand that everybody's not going to agree with us at first, but we got to consistently talk about, we got to consistently influence, we got to consistently poke and prod at the line, we got to consistently just get at it. And, you know, people are going to disagree. People are going to disagree, and a lot of people aren't going to understand, but it's based off these past experiences they have. And in order to break that, we have to just consistently talk about it. Consistently let them know, hey, man, that's wrong because this is why it's wrong. You know, we do hip hop, we understand the culture, and we benefit from this culture. So we have to, because we benefit from this culture, we have to give back to the culture. We have to talk about the history of the culture, you know, and we have to do as much as we can, you know. So from my experience, I've worked with a lot of hip hop programs. I even threw an event back in 2017 called Peace, Love, and Unity that actually contributed to the women's rights movements. You know, I forgot what the program was called, but we donated all of our funds that came into it to the women's rights movement. You know, I threw the same event the year right after, you know, and we did our donations to a lot of places like that, just because, you know, it is about giving back and understanding that there's a lot of racial inequalities, and we have to fix that. And in order to fix that, we have to educate and talk about it. And like Impact said earlier, this is the start. This is one of the starts right here where we speak about all that stuff, you know. And my brother Sae, he's out here putting in work, and he's consistently trying to educate people, you know. So shout outs to my brother Sae, you know, because he's doing a lot too. Shout outs to my brother VillN Impact and Gary, because we all do that, and we're consistently talking about it. That's one of the main reasons, actually, why we all came together to have this podcast, because we want to educate people. We want you guys to understand that this is a serious situation, and in order to contribute about it, one of the main things that we first must do is talk about it. And that's the first step.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, something you brought up that's true is that we got to remember that there is racial, what do you call it, anti-Black in our community. I mean, we can't be blunt. We can't be let's be blunt about it. You know what I mean? Like straight up. I mean, but that also come from historical like drama too. You know what I mean? Like drama and like problematic situations happening in the past as well that people experienced. And again, we can't take those past experience and not say that everyone is what it is, right? How those situation is, because honestly, I feel like all of us here have experienced great things from multiple cultural backgrounds, right? People who come from different part of the world that we just love. Like I have brothers and sisters that I consider brothers and sisters that not just Hmong, not just my blood brother and sister, but that are my blood and sister in my crew that are Filipino, Black, Hispanic, you know, to like white, you know, I mean, Caucasian, to, you know, I mean, different cultural backgrounds. So like I feel like if anything, I mean, I appreciate the hip hop culture for that, for straight up. I mean, if you meet a person in hip hop they would definitely have, from my experience, they would definitely have a similarity with you, that you just find commonality that it will help you to be comfortable to kind of just talk and be who yourself, right? If not, first of all, we'll move first, right? Because we're movers, right? And we do that first. But if anything, I want to bring that up because it's true. I mean, we can't lie that there's not anti-blackness in our community at times, right? Even right now, you know, part of it is because some of us might not got a chance to go above and beyond that, because like people say sometimes, like racism is not a taught thing. It's not what do you call it? What did it say? It's not
you're not born with racism.
You're not born a racist. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you're not born a racism. You know, it's a taught thing. You know what I mean? It's an experience thing. It's something that people plug into. It's a brainwash. You get plugged into it. At least my experience, my understanding that, right? And I'll fight for that. And I agree with that. So if anything, like I don't know. I mean, Bill, you want to chime in? I mean, Sae, I mean, Gary, I mean, feel free. I mean, what, you know, let's talk more about this.
I know you.
You know?
Do you guys hear me?
We'll go a little above beyond.
Yeah, do you hear me, Impact?
Time. Sorry to our audience. I know we all say we're gonna go for an hour, but like I say, when we have fun, if not, we were passionate about something, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going for as much as we can. We're not gonna tire you guys out. So let's go. Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, you guys hear me? Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure. I was having like sound issues earlier, but yeah, I mean, Impact, you touched a little base about it too, because I feel like if you getting into this topic, we also have to dig deeper to like the times of us coming to America, you know. And when we came to America, you know, I feel like a lot of Hmong families, they came to, you know, like minority neighborhoods, you know, pretty much the ghetto, you know what I mean? So we have to understand that a lot of our parents traditionally, you know, like I'm just saying traditional because it's like they're the elders, you know. They come here, they don't know what the land is new, everything, the whole experience is new. So you know, and most of the time, and I also want to remind everyone that's how the gang kind of even escalated within our people, is because, you know, of racial, you know, pretty much racial issues, you know. And I'm not saying that it was happening to just the African American community then. You know, we know we already know by now that has been an ongoing thing, but it was also to our people too, you know, from them, right? So like going back to what Impact said about how it's been kind of programmed, it may have been programmed also through parents, you know, trauma. You got to remember that, right? So, and I'm not saying, of course, I'm not saying this is everyone's experience. It isn't, but this is experience that live out there that are for real. Like it has happened, you know, like it is, you know. So I'm only bringing this up to par because into the conversation, so we can all better understand that if you really look back to the history of our Hmong people coming into America, you know, we have that kind of like, I wouldn't even say it's like a dark history. If anything, it's just a history. There is something that happened there. That's how gangs started. That's how people started like, yo, we got to get together because we got, you know, like there's these people over here that are doing bad things to us because we're Asians, you know, we're Hmong, you know what I mean? So like, I mean, that's for sure that I know that was, you know, part of the reason why, you know, one of the reasons why I feel like gangs even started, you know what I mean? So going into this topic, and of course, there's a lot to talk about, you know, as far as like even from the history, because I feel like in the end, we could definitely even find other people who actually come from that time, right? To discuss what really happened for them, you know what I mean? So, but I do want to just like throw that in there because again, you know, it is something that we also have to, if not only educating our people, but educating other people as well, just so that in this process, there's an understanding, you know what I mean? Because not all Hmong people are like that. You get what I'm saying? And I know that everyone understands that, but it is something that I do want to bring up. And but yeah, I will want to throw that in there.
Yeah, just to backpack off that real quick too, you know, I mean, even for me, right? And it wasn't even specifically with African Americans. Like my best friend was Laotian, And I had people saying like, "Why are you friends with a Laos guy? Do you know what they did
Yeah.
to us?" And I'm just like, "Well, he's my best friend. You know, like we've been through so much together. What do you mean? You know?" And even as of, I mean, even recently, you know, with Muay Thai, I fight out of a gym called Muay Thai Lao, and it has the Laos flag on it. And I went to a funeral home and I was wearing my sweater, and even a bunch of OGs came up to me like, "Why are you wearing a shirt? Well, are you Laos?" And I'm just like, what are you talking about? And it's like, "Why do you have a Laos flag on your shirt?" You know, and it's like, it's an understanding of the trauma that they went through. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I didn't get mad. I was just like, "Oh yeah, okay." And then I just explained like, "Hey man, cool, you know," and then he's just like, "Oh, you know, why does she with your gun now? With the Laos flag on it?" And I'm just like, "Well, you
Now
know,
chom blow, you know.
yeah, namu chomblo." And I was like, "Well, kutu night cool de yomblone." And they're like, "Well, why are you learning from a Laos guy?" And I'm like, "Well, what does this have to do with anything?" But then I also understood that the trauma that a lot of them faced, you know,
Yeah.
even with, they even have trauma with Vietnamese and Laotians. A lot of the times they do, you know what I'm saying? And growing up, one thing that I also experienced was like, you know, my best friend was Laos, and everybody's like, "Why the hell are you friends with Laos people?" I'm like, "Because I can be, because he's a great person, his family's great, you know, and stuff like that." So we have to understand, like VillN said, the trauma that our people's face. Because I mean, we haven't even been in America that long. Let's be real. We've been here for like what, 67 years only? Not that long. Not that long.
40 plus, I think. I know we celebrate Monk
Yeah,
40
50
recently.
Yeah, about 50 years. Yeah, and that is
So
like
almost 50.
that, we're pretty much babies in this scene compared to other people who's been here for many years.
Yeah.
You know, so we also everybody needs to understand too that, you know, like we're growing and we're learning, and this education and these talks that we're having, that's a step forward.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I feel like something you and Willem up is like trauma, right? Trauma is something that like that our people face many years and years and years and generation, and you know, like you mentioned about the trauma with the our conflict with Laotian people. I mean, you know, I have friends too. I mean, my a good friend of Willem, we have a Lancer, you know, Lancer Aranek. They're great people and they're Laos, and that's something that we the reason why we created Sea Monster on purpose is to unite all Southeast Asian people, you know, is to build that unity among our people. Because like I say, like there's problem within our community that we shouldn't even be doing that in the first place. And part of it is sometimes we don't know what's happening beyond. It's not only our beef, right? Sometimes it's like beef that we don't carry, you know. So like I said, I mean, if anyone want to share more about this, I don't know, Sai, you can speak a lot more about it. I know you, if you want to.
I think Gary wanted to say something.
Yeah, Gary, go ahead.
So the thing I wanted to say was, you know, I think everyone has to remember why we came to America. You know, it was because of the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
And that right there, it not only pushed the Hmong out of Southeast Asia, but you know, the Laos, Vietnamese, there was a lot more people that got pushed out as well.
Yep.
And of course, coming to America, and especially, you know, in the 70s and 80s, you got to look at all the social injustices that were already ongoing. You know, look at American history, you know, and how we fall into it, and look at the history that the other people fought to have us come to America, you know. And I just think if people just better educated themselves on how and why we came here, I think they would have a better love for all people around us, you know. So
I agree. I feel like, you know, when we learn about people's greatness, everyone's gonna love each other. I'll be real. I feel like that's something that I know for sure. So but how about you, Sai? I want to hear from you.
You know, you guys talked about a lot of the historical context of how we came here and stuff, and that's super important, because it's important to understand how the historical trauma has affected how we treat other people and other races, you know, because of how they treated us at that time. But one of the things about, you know, hip hop and how it's bridged that gap for me in racial equality, you know, I grew up being taught, oh, 就教我用一张 K 2的 liar. you know, and like that all the time, you know, don't date black girls, don't hang out with black people, don't do this, don't do that, you know. That was my parents, you know. So I, to an extent, I grew up racist, you know, and really I didn't have a black friend until I got into dance, you know.
Just
and
translate what Sai said very quick. He said that his parents usually will say like don't do what they do because they're gangsters, which is
yeah,
the black folks are.
they're thugs, they're this or that, and you know, my
Thugs,
parents, and my parents were inherently racist, but it's not because of their own ignorance. It's because of the trauma they faced when they came here to America, and how their relatives, you know, exactly what you guys are saying. But how I bridged that racial inequality was by actually dancing. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't enter a black person's home until I learned how to dance, until my teacher, my mentor, was a black person, you know, and that's JD Frazier. He was my mentor. You know, he welcomed me into his home, and then
JD, man, one of the greatest
yeah,
guy for sure.
and then even some more mentors, you know. There's Brandon Nobody Greathouse, you know. He's taught me a lot, you know. And then
Shout
there's
out
Mike
Nobody for sure, Sacramento,
who brought me out to Jabberwockies, you know what I mean? Like, these are some of the people who's influenced me, and because I brought them around my parents were able to put on a smile around them. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that to me is bridging that racial inequality. And on top of that, plenty of us have taught a lot of Hmong kids who aren't racist. Like, I have heck of Hmong kids that I've taught from Luther Burbank who are open about the Black Lives Matter movement, you know, who can speak their mind and have adult conversations, who I'm super proud of, you know what I mean? Like, and these are Hmong kids, and they understand the racial inequality that's happening around themselves, you know what I'm saying? So this is how the Hmong hip hop community can contribute to racial inequalities, by actually being in that community. You know what I'm saying? Like, continue dancing, continue bringing your other friends around your parents, so that they can experience and be friends with those type of people, so they understand that they can empathize with those people. Because if you're around your own circle of people, you can't empathize with other race of people, because you're not their friend. You don't care. You know, you inherently, on bias, you don't care about people who are not your friend, who you don't know. But if you do know them, you might end up loving them. You know what I'm saying?
True. You're right about it. Something you mentioned is key, is about just at least getting that empathy, right? Understanding empathy. If anything, I think that's key. We should at least be able to empathize for each other, straight up. Because we are not majority. Straight up, we're the minority, you know, and like social class to racial class, to whatever you think it is, man. We are minority, and like something we have that I tell you straight up that the minority people have that is magical and powerful is the beauty of hip hop, that have provided us the freedom of creation, expression, and ability to do certain thing that the real other class part don't have, because they don't, you know. Like, I remember Gary mentioned, like someone mentioned to Gary that like why do you do that, man? That's you're not even broke. You know, you're not even broke. Why you breaking, man? You're not even broke. You know what I mean? And but the fact is that it's not about being it doesn't matter what class you are. You do it because you love it. You do it because it brings some joy, enlightenment, and is a passion and a joy of whatever it does. Therapy, and we go deeper later on in the next episode. But I only say that because I'm trying to tie many elements that we spoke upon, and straight up. So you mentioned something that's key, is just having empathy. You know what I mean? Not just sympathy, but like having empathy for each other, because we need to understand that we have to understand each other emotions and experiences as well, and like connect certain dots to move forward compared to moving backward, you know what I mean? And unite and come together compared to fighting, you know what I mean, dividing. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, anyone want to say anything before we I want to move on to the next topic, and then I like go into some Q&A very quick before we close off. I know this topic is pretty deep, man. I feel. Go ahead.
Yeah. I said, yeah, we could move on because I think we're running short on time. But yeah,
yeah.
man, this topic.
You know, we've been pretty
it's a super
consistent with
deep
like an hour and a half, but like I say, if like again, we're having fun, guys. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna do this because we do it for you guys. You know what I mean? Again, this is our time. This is our time. I know your time too. You know, your time you tuning in, but at the same time, it is our time because we love you guys and appreciate our community. Communities, you know what I mean? Not just a Hmong community, but we're talking about Hmong community and beyond. We're talking about hip hop community and beyond. You know what I mean? So, again, thank you guys so much for being
And
with
again,
us.
we're also just speaking upon our experience. So anyone who is tuning in, just know that these are experiences from us, right? I'm sure there's a lot of other Hmong hip hop artists out there that are doing their best to contribute to racial inequality. So just before we move forward, it's not like we're not acknowledging them. You know what I mean? So just want to put that in there.
I agree. All right, how about this, man? I know I would like to answer the audience questions. You know, we have some questions that I feel like are pretty amazing. You know what I mean? Did you guys get one that you guys like?
I got this one from My Vu. She asked about our first question. She asked if we're influencing hip hop culture and vice versa. How do we preserve our culture through hip hop? That's a great question. I think VillN Impact, you guys are a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
I'll let VillN answer that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel like obviously we know hip hop has a huge influence, not just in Hmong culture, but in all cultures around the world. And one way that, to answer that question straight to it, is one way that we preserve, Hmong culture through hip hop is, for example, it's just creating for us, we created a brand called 7 Dose, and under this brand, we have a roots and culture collection, which is you see what Gary sold it up, and all it is just and you see, there you go. You look at Munch's beanie there. It's all just Hmong influence. Type of, even here, I'm wearing it right here. Where's it at? Right here. It's all Hmong influence, design patterns, and our Hmong textiles. It's called the Roots and Culture Collection. And in the end, we understand how big the hip hop culture has influenced our Hmong culture. So we sort of present it in a streetwear lifestyle approach and clothing. And in that way, we understand that, of course, the generations now, they're moving in a, it's like times move so fast that, kids are getting influenced from everywhere on social medias to everywhere, So in the end, it's like one thing that we wanted to do with the Roots and Culture Collection was to just, preserve our Hmong culture, which is, again, through textiles to Hmong design, Hmong patterns, even through storytelling, right? And which is very much what our people do, and to preserve that through a street kind of wear lifestyle approach, and that's exactly what we've been trying to do. So that's one way, you know what I mean? That's definitely one way that we're trying to do with it. I'm sure you guys probably know other ways that you guys want to share as well.
Well, okay, for me, if you guys came to the Fresno Hmong New Year last year, we had the Common Unity dance choreography competition. And the challenge of that competition was it was Hmong themed, whether it was through adding Hmong music in your in your set, or adding Hmong clothing, some type of Hmong attire, or even a Hmong dance, Hmong hand gestures. I felt like that was a very interactive challenge for dancers. And and with the b-boying event, we have a lot of people coming from all races come over, and we invite them to check out the Hmong New Year, to explore our community, explore our culture. If you never had Hmong food, well, it's right over there. If you never seen Hmong traditional Hmong clothes, look, it's all around you. So definitely be more inviting.
I agree. I feel like how we continue our Hmong culture within hip hop culture, what we do, I feel like something that I tell my brother VillN straight up is I don't think I have ever seen a mover like my brother VillN, and because he moved the way he moved, it's because that's a Hmong style, straight up. you know, and like I seen that have been influenced to like people like from like the airship styles, you know what I mean, like Doom to a lot of them, because I'm not even saying like they are influenced by us. I'm just saying because there is a Hmong style out there, and like whether we acknowledge it or not, there's a Hmong style in terms of like the hip hop movement, because there's a original movement, because we are Hmong people and we will move the way Hmong people only will move, straight up. Because that's why I will say that, because I know there are some freaking killer Hmong powerhead out there. The reason why they're freaking amazing Hmong powerhead, because no one could be able to be as disciplined and love the power move the way they do and be that great like era, you know, straight up to like dummy, you know what I mean, to those people who, you know, I'm only naming a few, like the one from Minnesota. I'm just saying like these people are like, I only say this because like I know I've heard story from people. I'm not gonna name them because I don't want to like be making them feel anything, but I heard story from other race that said, yeah, man, I learned the power move from Hmong people. I'm like, yo, what the heck? I'm like, yeah, man. You know what I mean? I'm talking about people from Fresno. I'm talking people from Alaska. You know what I mean? I'm talking people from Minnesota. So like, how are we contributing Hmong culture and keeping it alive in hip hop culture? Damn, I'll be real with you. It's our movement. Even we are learning some foundational movement within a predominantly Black culture to Hispanic culture to many various other culture. I feel like we're still adding our own influential content into this world. So it's a vice versa for me. Like I feel like we carry that and that way in movement wise, though, in fashion for sure, even knowledge. I feel like Gary have a strong way of like community service, you know what I mean, sharing that, even performing aspect of it. I know Sae have a big part of that, you know what I mean, in our home community. Y'all gotta know, if you watch the Jabba show, I guarantee you probably saw Sae perform, you know what I mean. If you watch like a battle competition, you've been in Sacramento, like to any competition, I guarantee you saw a Munch. I guarantee I saw all of us representing our people. So I guess if you guys are okay, I mean, is there any question that you guys want to answer right now that you guys saw that is great? If not, then I'm move on to our closing that I would like to close it off.
Yeah, I think we only got that one question.
That one question was pretty good, and I would like to. Oh, there was one that I think Gary kind of mentioned already. There's one person mentioned about like community, pretty much throwing an event, like the experience of throwing an event and roles within throwing an event. But you know what? I feel like that's something we could answer in deeper in dance. Deeper in dance, we're gonna dive deep into stuff like that, community service and so on. So again, first of all, I just want to say thank you guys so much for being here. Again, it is Hmong Hip Hop Heritage episode 3. This is talking about bridging the gap. This is talking about our communities, not just community. There's many communities within hip hop. And like this is only 5 of us speaking on our experience and sharing our insights and stories and what we have done and what we experienced. But you know, I just want to acknowledge that there's other people out there for sure, 100% that are amazing like us or even beyond, you know, in the future generation. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Before we even close off, I guess since we're going deeper and deeper, like I would like to ask this one last question for all 5 of us to share. And I guess I will just start it off just because I will always, since, you know, I always ask, and I'll just be that person to start off for us. So we give you guys some time to think about it. My main thing is like, you know, as artists, as individuals, as people in general, sometime in life, we have our mission statements, our mottos, our mantra, what we live by, what do we do, what you know what I mean, like straight up like our compass, our moral compass, something that we always hold truly to ourselves, that guide us to a point where if anything, when we get to struggles of a hardship in decision making, we always read it or understand it that, oh, that was my mission statement that I remember creating, you know what I mean. So I mean, it doesn't have to be a mission statement. It doesn't have to be a motto. It doesn't have to be anything. It could be just straight up like like I'm gonna use each one teach one. It's a code that I feel like hip hop people understand. It's a code, right? You know, it honestly, it could be a movement too. It could be like the Locker's handshake. Oh, straight up. If that's something you live by, you know what I mean? If you know that by heart, and you're like, I live by the Locker handshake, because at the end of the day, man, I go anywhere, you know what I mean? That's something that I carry because it helped me. Because, you know what I mean? Straight up. Y'all don't know what the Locker handshake is. Straight up, man. Like, that's I mean, I love locking. Y'all don't know. I love locking. The Locker handshake is something that you go anywhere a Locker knows, you could handshake them, even you don't know them. You know what I'm trying to say? So, anyways, so I'm just saying. So, my mission statement. I'm gonna start with mine. My mission statement is I'm gonna just read. I just revamped it recently. I just took a leadership course with Arnold Calvario. Y'all don't know him. Research him. Great guy. One of the pioneers within the dance community in Southern California and beyond. Great leader. Anyways, he helped me with my new revamped mission statement. I'm gonna read it. So, I am a creator, educator, and a healer with unique power, knowledge, and intuition to serve as a catalyst for positive impact in the world and the lives of all people. I aim to accomplish this through purpose-driven arts education, and cultivate community collaboration. That's something that I carry for myself right now. That's my point. Where if anything I get lost, I'll come back to, you know what I mean? Like I used to kind of like just remind myself if I'm confused in my life, you know, as an artist, as a person. But again, you know, I feel like we're going deeper and deeper in our lives right now to share more content with our audience. And so like I would like to just kind of dig deeper within who you guys are, you know, take a moment for that. Anybody?
Yeah, I'll share mine. Mine is simple. I'm sure everybody's heard it before. You know, just treat others like how you want to be treated. You know, I live by that. Like that's as simple as it gets for me.
Hell yeah, I agree.
Okay, I'll go. Damn, I love it, Sae. Love it. Very powerful, straight to the point. Impact. I love yours too. I'm just gonna go off my head. I am a vessel, a spirit in a human body, having the human experience, trying to create, educate, and spread good, if not spark good, or spark others to do good through movement and way of life.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. You just did it on the spot.
It's on my head, man. It's just you know, I'm just going. You know, that's it.
Sae, you nailed it with simplicity, and this guy went with complexity.
Sorry, I had to take my time, though. You know.
All right. All right. That's what you get for waiting, guys. You should have gone first. I'm telling you, man. You should have gone first. When you don't have to like try to up it up. No, I'm just joking. No, keep going. Let's go, Gary or a bunch. It's up to y'all. Yeah.
I think for me, well, I was gonna touch bases on the golden rule as well, but
yeah, golden rule. Yeah, let's go.
You know, for me, I think some of the other things that I live by would be to keep an open mind, kind of like what you guys were talking about, be empathetic. You know, I believe in karma. I believe in feng shui. So, you know, definitely try to be positive, and that positivity will be given back. So definitely for me, it's like, you know, I don't know how to explain it. It's trying to just be open, you know, like if you open all your chakras, you open your flow of energy, I feel like you're gonna gain more energy, you're gonna gain more spirituality, right? And with that just comes great things.
Sick. Being open-minded, just being open, free, and like accept everything. That's how I just think that's like a key part in growth and living life freely. So mad love, Gary. That's powerful, man. That's powerful.
That's dope, man. Yeah. Man. One model that I've always lived off of for myself is be your own hero. You know, no matter the dark times and everything that we go through, right? I want everybody to understand that like everybody can believe in you, but if you don't believe in yourself, man, you're never gonna make it out. You know, because you are your hardest critic, and you are the person who can pull you out that hole. You know, so one thing that I've always lived by is be your own hero. As much as I have so many people that I look up to, right? One thing that I understand for myself is that, like, you know what? I can't rely on everybody to pull me up. As much as they can pull me up, if I doubt myself and I don't believe in myself, it starts with me at the end of the day. Do you want it? How much do you want it? Are you willing to lose sleep for it? Are you willing to grind for it? Are you willing to bleed for it? Are you willing to fight for it? No. So my motto that I've always lived by is be your own hero. You know, a motivational thing that I always tell everybody to, you know, that I want you guys to all understand too, you know, for everybody that's watching, it's not about the journey you take, it's about who you become during your journey. And remember that. So be your own hero. You know, nobody can save you but yourself. Everybody can believe in you, but if you don't believe in yourself at the end of the day, then you're never going to succeed. So in order to succeed, you are the first person that needs to believe in yourself. Then everything else is just uplifting, you know. So yeah, man, that's my life motto right there.
Yeah, my drop. What an amazing way to end off the show. I mean, straight up. I mean, everyone has some great content, and I'll straight like share with you guys. I mean, I know for sure these are just only like a few life mottos, life mantra, life you know, like golden rules, you know, to myself mission statement, to the to just being, you know, straight all the way to what Munch has mentioned about just being your own self. Understand that you are a hero to yourself, because at the end of the day, it's going to take you to go through all the experience. That's going to lead us to what we're going to talk about next, which is deeper than dance, y'all. So tune in to episode 4, which is going to be our last one. Episode 4, which is our last one, is coming up this Thursday on the 27th. Again, that's August 27th. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again for us today. We talked about bridging the gap. Again, tune in Thursday, and we're gonna dig and go deeper in dance, straight up. So again, deeper dance is gonna happen on Thursday. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again,
I just want to thank everyone who's been tuning in consistently. I just want to let everyone out there, our audience, know that we recognize y'all, those that have been tuning in consistently. I appreciate you guys, all the whether you're kids or whether you're like elders or you're female, you're male, it doesn't matter. We appreciate y'all. And our last one's Thursday, so tune in.
Last one's Thursday, y'all. For now, so at the end of the day,
Where to go?
John, shut up.
And you guys heard it. It's all gonna be Hmong too. So just kidding.
That's gonna be a little hard.
I'm about to put us in the hole right there.
Dylan's right. Thank you guys so much, our audience. We appreciate you guys. Without you guys, we would not have us. Straight up. I mean, we do this for you guys. So
yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you to Blongher. Thank you to honestly, I'm gonna read this. Lee. How do you read that? Lee Sa. Yeah, right. And I know we have a homie brother from France. It seemed like it's Vachon. Pretty much, I'm pretty sure it's Shong, right?
Yeah, my boy Kevin. What's up,
Kevin? Yeah, man. Like, mad love to you. We got Aiden Prince. Oh shoot, we got Aiden Prince in the house. Mad love to Aiden Prince. Y'all don't know, isn't it? This guy is the next future star in our Hmong community. So please support him. He's
already a star.
Yeah, he's already a star. But you know, we gotta like star. But you know, Aiden Prince is a star already. We know that. But still, he's the future, man. I want to let you guys know, if you don't know Aiden Sean, please plug in and follow him. Learn more about him. I mean, he's an amazing dancer. amazing dancer. He's a future star actor. And please support him. At the end of the day, it comes with us supporting each other. Without supporting each other, we can't go anywhere. So at the end of the day, let's continue this positivity and love and support. Something that we learn from hip hop is peace, love, and unity, and having fun. And please, let's keep that up within our community and within our Hmong community, our hip hop community, and like everywhere beyond. So with that, thank you so much. Thank you to Sae Cha. Thank you to Ryan Lee. Thank you to Longkue Lor. Thank you to Gary. Oh, Gary Yang. You know what I mean? And again, I am Longka Lor. Thank you so much for tuning in. We do this for you guys, and we will be back Thursday, August 27th. Peace out.
Peace out.
Peace.
Good night.
Peace.